Hello and welcome to the post-production show. In this episode, I'll be talking about the movie news from Comic-Con. I will be reviewing the Bourne Legacy and talking about the weekend box office numbers. Last weekend, San Diego Comic-Con happened again, and with that, we got more movie news. We got a lot of new trailers, especially from Warner Brothers. Seemed like they just wanted to put a trailer for basically every big movie they're putting out up until the end of next year. So I'm just going to talk about the movies that were showing off at Comic-Con and, give my thoughts about it. I guess the biggest one coming out of it, or the biggest surprise, would be the Justice League movie, in that not only did we get a picture of all the, the main superheroes that are going to be in it, which they didn't even hide the fact that Superman's coming back, considering in the picture, he is in the main forefront of it next to Wonder Woman and Batman. But they also released, I would say almost a full-blown trailer. It was almost, it was about 2 minutes. And they are still filming, so they couldn't show that much anyway. But basically what it showed is, basically Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman are going to get they're trying to round up all the other ones, so Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, to try and fight what's coming. The trailer looked pretty good. It's Zack Snyder, so obviously he can make great trailers. Like, he's always made great trailers. Man of Steel, there was one of the trailers, was amazing. Batman Superman, there were a couple, one or two good trailers, except the second one, which should never have been made, considering it just spoiled everything, but besides that. So, basically, it just showed, mostly Bruce Wayne, interacting with them. Like, he goes to see Aquaman, tries to convince him, goes to see Flash, tries to get him, and, it shows, like, the personalities of each. Aquaman is more of a loner, he's a bit more angry. The Flash is more eager to join. He's excited about it, so you get to see his more upbeat personality. And, Cyborg, we don't see them recruiting Cyborg. He's just kind of there. So overall, I thought the trailer was pretty good, had good music to it. It seems more upbeat than Batman Superman. I don't know. But again, trailers can be absolutely misleading, so we'll have to see. But right now, I am looking forward more to Justice League now than I was before after seeing the trailer. But again, the trailers for Batman, Superman, most of them were pretty good, yet the movie was a bit disappointing. So, I have my hesitations about it. So the next trailer we got was Wonder Woman, which comes out before Justice League, comes out, a couple months before. It comes out next June, after Suicide Squad, but before Justice League. And it shows Wonder Woman in a World War I era. She's interacting with humans, stuff like that. It looks like she's going to fight in World War I. And she mentioned in Batman Superman that she went away from humanity, a long time ago. And it looks like this movie will show us what happened. What caused her to, okay, I'm done with you humans. I'm going into hiding and not interact with them openly and just get by. Just do what you need to do to live. But, she doesn't openly interact with them, become friends with them. She just, after this, she goes into hiding. And it'll be interesting to see how it happens. The action scenes look pretty good. You get to see the, golden lasso. A lot of slow motion cuts, which that could be annoying, but we'll see. The next couple trailers that Warner Brothers came out with were, and actually one I'm actually looking pretty forward to, is the Lego Batman movie, which is a spin-off from the Lego movie from Warner Brothers that came out a couple years ago. It's basically just a Batman movie, but, in Lego. And it's very tongue-in-cheek. It gives references to, other Batman movies, it looks like. It's making fun of Batman overall, but also it looks like a solid Batman movie. It has Robin, it has Joker, Alfred, and all that. And it's very entertaining, and it could be, I'm hoping it's well made, because it looks like it's aimed for kids, obviously, because it's a Lego movie. But it's aimed for people, teenagers and adults that know Batman, stuff like that. They'll get references like the past stuff and stuff about Batman that is kind of funny. So, a funny joke in the movie, in the trailer at least, was Robin getting his costume. Batman has a bunch of different costumes, and he finds a reggae one that looks like the Robin one, wears it, and then rips off the pants. It's pretty funny. That comes out, I believe, next winter, February, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a winter movie. And then after that, you got March for Warner Brothers next year is also going to be pretty big, as they have King Arthur, which is being directed by Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie obviously making a lot of pretty good movies. He's now doing, looks like his take on King Arthur. The trailer was interesting. The first 30, 40 seconds. Like, if you see that, it's like, oh, that's like someone copying Guy Ritchie. And then you see, like, oh, directed by Guy Ritchie. Like, oh, well, that's his style. Because, like just telling a story, it's like, it moves around. The story, like, someone in the movie is telling a story. The scenes are set up to where they fast forward and rewind and cut based on how the person in the movie is narrating the story, which is neat. I'm unsure about this movie. It's like, it looks pretty good, but it looks like to be a bit too serious. Guy Ritchie movies are kind of best when it's not too serious. Because after that funny bit, it went to a bit more serious parts of it, and it looked like a lot of fighting and stuff like that, which could be cool. But, I don't know, it's like, I'm just hoping that, the movie's good. The trailer has me interested. I honestly completely forgot this movie was coming out until I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, this one's coming out too. I don't really have a lot to say more about it. The next big one, though, I'm excited for is Kong Skull Island, which is the King Kong set in the Godzilla universe. So, if you haven't heard, there is now a universe with now Godzilla and King Kong in the same universe. So, the idea is that the timeline now is the Godzilla movie that came out 2 years ago, in 2014, will be fighting this King Kong. So, you have Godzilla from 2 years ago. You have King Kong next year, and then 2018 is Godzilla 2, and then in 2020, Godzilla will face King Kong in a crossover movie. So this movie will be used to set up this version of King Kong that will fight Godzilla in a couple of years. From the trailer, they did kind of what they did with Godzilla, is that they didn't fully show the monster. They didn't show King Kong fully. You just saw like close up of his head. You saw like the legs and torso, the hand. We didn't see the full thing. But what the glimpses we saw is he is massive. He is huge. And I think the producers are saying he's going to average around 100 feet. It stars Tom Hiddleston, I think Brie Larson, Samuel Jackson, John Goodman. It is a star-studded cast for this movie. And it's set in the 70s. So really, based on depending on when they fight the crossover movie, this could be the only time we see this cast. Like, they might not appear in a King Kong 2 or the crossover movie, because if this happens in the 70s and the crossover movie is present day like Godzilla was, then they would all be like 80, 90. So it'll be very interesting to see how it happens. It looks like the military is going to try and take on King Kong, like a Vietnam War kind of style. So that could be fun. Besides that, yeah, I enjoyed the trailer. It's looking really, like, monster movies it looks like might start to come back, especially with King Kong and Godzilla. Like, they might start to bring monster movies back. And you have Pacific Rim 2 coming out in a couple of years. That's it. And the last one was another trailer for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the Harry Potter spin-off movie. Really excited for that. Big fan of Harry Potter. Read the books and watched the movies as a kid. So it didn't show anything new, really. It showed some of the creatures that Newt will be seeing, and we saw more of Colin Farrell in action, investigating, using spells and all that. So that was good, because he is another main character of the movie that we really haven't seen. So this trailer is more giving a perspective of what he will be doing, which looks like he will be tracking down Newt and trying to stop him. I don't know if he's a good guy or bad guy kind of way, but it looks like that is his mission, at least in the movie itself. And that's about it for Warner Bros., who just knocked it out of the park this year with trailers and movie news and all that. Marvel, not so much. Usually it's Warner Bros. And Marvel are the big ones. Marvel, not really. They apparently teased and showed off a bit of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 footage, but they didn't release any of that yet, and details are kind of light on that, so nothing much to talk about there. The one trailer they did release, though, was for Doctor Strange, and is quite a bit better than the first trailer. The first trailer got me interested, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to see this movie. With the second one now, and like the reality bending, and like how there are different realities and stuff like that, made me interested. I want to see this now. Benedict Cumberbatch looks good as Doctor Strange. Like, I see like him next to like comic pictures, and they're like, yeah, he fits the part. Looks pretty good. And then Thor 3 or Thor Ragnarok is coming out. So for Thor Ragnarok, they showed off some concept art, and they showed off pictures of a gladiator armor that Hulk will be using in the movie, which looks pretty interesting. Obviously, it didn't show him wearing it. It just showed the armor. And then that's about it. That comes out next November, actually, around the same time as Justice League. So it'll be interesting to see box office wise how both of those will do, considering it's two big superhero movies going head to head. This Thor movie is actually pretty important because I believe this is the one that's going to set up Thanos. The most important one in Phase 2 was the Winter Soldier, as it set up the state of S.H.I.E.L.D. and where a lot of superheroes on Earth stood when Avengers came around, like Avengers Age of Ultron. So for Avengers Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok is going to be one of the big movies that actually moves the plot forward and sets the stage for how that happens. Because if Thanos is the big bad guy for Infinity War, which we all assume, he needs, he has the glove, and at the end of Avengers 2, he said he's going to do it himself, get the gems. So we assume Thor Ragnarok will be him actually making a move to start getting the stones together to do, kill the Avengers and all that. So that's about it for the Comic-Con movie news. Very interesting stuff coming out. I'm looking forward to quite a lot of movies here. And coming up next is my review of the Bourne Legacy. The movie I decided to review for this episode was the Bourne Legacy. I decided to review it even though it's, a couple years old, is because I watched the first three, I watched the, original Bourne trilogy, and I think they're great films, and I'm excited about Jason Bourne coming out, so I wanted to watch it, finally review it, and, so I'm all ready for Jason Bourne, and I kind of feel I didn't need to see it. This was actually a disappointing movie. It is a movie that has no plot. It is a movie that has almost no character development at all. I feel it doesn't deserve to be called a Bourne movie. So let me go through the positives, the ups, the good sides of this movie. The action is more or less still Bourne. It's still Bourne. It's a different director. It's not Paul Greengrass. It's a different director, but the director is able to almost kind of capture the same feel as the other ones. Fast cut, shaky cam a little bit. So the action was good. And it opens the possibility to other things happening in the Bourne universe, in that you can have different stories in the Bourne universe. You can have different movies with different characters, and it would make sense. As you can see, because in this movie, it happens almost parallel to, actually, the beginning half, the first 20 minutes, first 20, 30 minutes, runs parallel to the Bourne Ultimatum, which was the previous movie, in that what Jason Bourne does in New York and what he's done, his actions, they have repercussions for a lot of people. It's not just, Jason Bourne, figured out who he was, and he shut down, he helped shut it down, and that's it, case closed. No, that's not how it happened in the real world, because there are other people working on this project. And one thing I did like about this movie is that you get to see the repercussions of what he did. In that the government decides, I don't even know if it's full government, but the group, Treadstone and all that, they decide to shut it all down, kill the operatives, kill everyone involved with it, and then destroy all evidence and move on. So if, shit gets worse and it comes to them, there's no evidence saying that they ran the program. So that's where basically the plot starts. Jeremy Renner is a new Bourne-ish character. He is an agent in the program, who's a little bit different from Jason Bourne in that in this version of the program, or this side of the program, he takes pills to keep going. So he takes pills to increase his brain functions, his agility, his speed, his strength. He takes the pills for that. Meanwhile, Jason Bourne can just do that anyway. And then from there, the plot, develops, and Jeremy Renner has to figure out how to survive and stuff like that. But that's where the plot basically ends. There's going to be a little spoiler alert. I'm just going to put a small spoiler alert right now, because I am going to spoil a little bit more of the plot. So, if you're listening and you still want to watch the movie without being spoiled, I guess leave the review now, because I am going to go to a little bit of spoilers. So, the whole plot of the movie is him needing to get pills. That is basically the whole plot in the movie. It's you could say, it's him trying to survive, but basically, if you break it down, it's him trying to get pills. And I'm now going to move into negatives, because the only two upsides to this movie, the only two pluses that I give it, is good action and the fact that it expands the Bourne universe. It shows the consequences of what Jason Bourne did. If Jason Bourne does well, the movie itself, we could maybe see, I would like to see Jeremy Renner, Matt Damon crossover movie, or maybe both agents cross paths or have to work together or something like that. I would like to see something like that. Or maybe if Matt Damon doesn't want to play Jason Bourne again, with what has happened in this movie and in his movies, you could have someone else, a different agent, different operative, dealing with a mission or crisis or something, and it could work. But the negatives is the plot's non-existent. The movie kind of just stops. Basically, he's looking for pills. He gets a girl, one of the scientists that was working on it, to help him get the pills. And then once that's solved, I'm not going to completely spoil it, but once that is solved, there is an ending action scene, and that's it. That's it. That is the entire movie. Because obviously, the government finds out, he's still alive, or, the agency. So Edward Norton playing the typical classic Bourne guy of bad government officials standing behind a computer screen yelling at people what to do. You've seen in the other Bourne movies, and it looks like it's going to be a classic trope in the new Bourne movie, not Bond movie, and Jason Bourne. So yeah, basically he's the guy running the operation. He's got to shut everything down. Turns out he's alive. So Edward Norton's going to be like, okay, you do this, you do that. And I mean, he plays it well. He plays the asshole really well. So obviously he sends assassins out to kill him, and then Jeremy Renner fixes it, and then movie's over. We're done. We're out of here. It's like, really? Because I honestly feel like I watched one half of a movie or 2/3 of a movie. I mean, obviously, like Jason Bourne's story spread across 3 movies and is now going to 4 movies. But it just cut right out. Like, it finished it, cut, and then wrapped it up. But I feel there was more left to be told in this movie alone. Not like, oh, we gotta leave it open for a sequel. No, it should be a self-contained movie. Because for the first Bourne movie, the Bourne Identity, it could have been a self-contained movie. Like, the way it was set up, it was a self-contained movie, and they then expanded it into a trilogy, which then worked as well. With the main thing being in the Bourne Identity, yes, it's kind of similar. It's similar in that Jason Bourne meets a girl, they help each other out, they gotta work through some, and then they end up together at the end of the movie. And that is kind of similar in this in Bourne Legacy. But the issue is that the problem with the Bourne Legacy that's different from the Bourne Identity is that the guy behind the desk, or the guy running the operation in Identity, died. The main bad guy, which was him, died, and that was it. That was it. For Legacy, Edward Norton's still alive. A lot of people working with him are still alive. The only main guy that died, which wasn't really a main guy that didn't show up until the last third of the movie, who says nothing, is the assassin that they send out. Like, the big baddie that they kill at the end of the movie is this top elite assassin, which movie trope, he's everything's off the charts. Everything's off the charts with this guy. He's like Jason Bourne and, the new Jeremy Renner guy without any consequences, no downsides. He's the perfect assassin. And, of course, he dies. He doesn't say a word. And, yeah. That was fantastic. So, another downside about the movie is that there's really no character development. I just mentioned this earlier, but Jeremy Renner doesn't really do anything. He's calculating, he's smart, he needs to get the pills. But that's the thing, is like, there is no room for character development in the script that they wrote. In the other Bourne movies, like Bourne Identity, is like, Bourne does care, like, grows to care for the girl who he did get her into that mess. And then the girl also starts to care for Bourne too, even after she was pissed that he got her into that mess, but they learn to move on and deal with it. In this one, it's that they're both targeted, so we kind of got to help each other out, and that's about it. Obviously, at the end, it kind of shows they might be in a relationship or not, but, like, it's not believable. I mean, yeah, you're kind of forced together because, the government's trying to kill you, but, that's about it. Yeah, obviously, with the bad guys, the guy just standing looking at screens telling people to do Edward Norton, like, obviously, they don't get any character development. So, there's nothing there. And I just felt it was a waste of my time. Like, there were definitely parts of the movie that were good. The action were good. And then it went back to what happened with Bourne. Like, Pamela Landy and how she's dealing with it. And how other people in the government are trying to, like, seal themselves off from the blowback of what Jason Bourne did. Those parts are interesting. The action scenes were interesting. Everything else was boring. It was flat. I felt they should, and I think it clocked in at like 2 hours, I think, or yeah, it was around 2 hours. I feel it could have been 2.5 hours, or they needed to shorten up the pill plot line of him being sealed off, getting the pills, and that, because that was basically the whole movie. You had like 20-30 minutes of setting up what happened, and then, Jeremy Renner saves the girl because he needs her, gets the pills, deals with an assassin, movie over. It's like, if you read that on paper, that would not seem like a full movie to you. That would not seem like a full movie. That is a bare bones plot. Very disappointed in the Bourne Legacy. I was always curious because, everyone, oh, yeah, man, this movie isn't good. It's not great. It's just, And I was always wondering, why are people saying this? Because I did see the trailers when they were promoting the movie. I was like, it looks pretty good. So I finally saw it. I understand why. I'm going to give the Bourne Legacy 4.5 out of 10. I feel it is not what, I think it's worth a rental, a one-time rental, if you're really interested into the Bourne movies. If you're interested in how, the Bourne universe and all that, I would say give it a rental. If you're not that interested in the Bourne movies, I would say don't watch it. I feel you'd be bored, and you'd feel like your time was wasted a bit. So, yeah, so Bourne fans, if you're interested in the universe, rental. If not, don't watch it at all. It's a waste of your time. And for the weekend box office numbers, Star Trek Beyond came in at first place with a solid $59.2 million. The Secret Life of Pets came in at second place with $29.6 million, with a domestic total so far of $260.9 million total. In third place, Lights Out came in at $21.6 million. In fourth place, Ice Age Collision Course came in at $21.3 million. And rounding out the top five, Ghostbusters came in at fifth place with $21 million, making with a domestic total so far of $86.2 million. So as you can see, what I mentioned from last week was that with the three newcomers, it was going to shake up the box office quite a bit. And I'm actually surprised, but yeah, Lights Out, as I said, was, if it worked out for the studio, it would be a low budget, high reward horror movie, and it looks like it's going to do that again. It's already made $21.6 million, so just making a bit more, assuming they didn't go crazy with marketing, it'll turn a nice profit for the studio. Ice Age Collision Course, however, not that great. $21.3 million. That is pretty low, and for a franchise, it's 5 movies in. It's kind of not surprising. It's starting to falter a bit, but however, the last 2 movies have been mostly international grosses. Both the last 2 movies made under 200 domestic, and meanwhile, for international wise, Ice Age 3 is like the one with the dinosaurs, made over 690 million international, and Ice Age 4 made $715 million. And for Ice Age 4, it made over 715 million international. So for the last few Ice Age movies, the domestic market hasn't meant that much at all to this. I mean, yeah, obviously the studio would want a bigger market share from the domestic because they get more money overall. But international-wise, the last 2 killed it at the box office. We don't know about the 5th one now yet. Yeah, still, domestic-wise, it's looking not great. I am wondering now, once this movie comes out and, the numbers to total, what are they going to do with the franchise? Are they going to do, like a 6th movie? Or are they going to go, direct to Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, cheap stuff? Because I could see them doing that, too. It's like, Fox, this has not been, so far, a great summer for Fox. X-Men Apocalypse, so far, has been their biggest hit, and I feel it was a hit. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's a disappointment a bit. I feel not, because if you look at the numbers, the X-Men Apocalypse box office numbers they're in line with most X-Men movies. The only 2 anomalies in the X-Men franchise is Days of Future Past, which made like 220, 230 domestic, and then Deadpool, which made like 350 domestic. Besides that, they all more or less made around 200 or under, and X-Men Apocalypse making like 150, 155 is right in line with that. Because Days of Future Past was an event movie. You're getting the new cast and the old cast together. That's going to be an anomaly. And Deadpool, that's his own thing altogether. That Deadpool is separate from everything else. So, people saying X-Men Apocalypse is a disappointment. It made about $500 million. And considering the only other 2 that made more than that is the event movie and Deadpool, you shouldn't be surprised by that. I had no way expected Apocalypse to actually make as much as Days of Future Past. It just wasn't going to happen. But besides that, that's their biggest hit. Independence Day was supposed to be another big hit. That has not done that well at all. It just passed like 100 million domestic, and with that's just a bomb. And now with Ice Age Collision Course is not doing great. It's doing terrible domestically right now. Internationally, we don't know yet how that will pan out. It could make another 400 or 500 million international, and if it does, then Ice Age will turn a profit, obviously. But still, not a great summer for Fox, considering they could have been a great second place to Disney, who has been killing it the whole year. Not the season they wanted, and next year it looks like Universal is going to probably be a solid second place. It looks like Disney's probably going to be first, but Universal, if Disney takes first, Universal's taking second next year, because you got Furious 8, you got Minions 3, and I believe they have one other big movie. But yeah, those are the two ones. If they if they do what the previous ones did, then yeah, they're going to easily take second place. That's the weekend box office numbers, and that's about it for the show. I am your host, Tyler Callahan, and see you next time.